Hey y'all, what is going on? This is Jesse Both from the 19th hole, and it is time for our next tournament information video. We have a new tournament that will be starting next Monday. Before we get into talking about the tournament, if you would like to find me on social media, you can find my contacts at the bottom of the screen below. Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. Also, you can always find me on Golf Clash the 19th hole, which is my Facebook community page. So, next tournament is the Safari Sunrise Tournament, and it starts on Monday, May 25th. This is a tournament that's going to feature the Arcacia Reserve course, and that course has only been used one time in tournament play, and that was last year in the Summer Major Tournament. So this is not a course that has been overused and reused multiple times in Golf Clash. It has been on Tour 9 for quite a while, so those of you that play Tour 9 definitely should be very familiar with this course. A good friend of mine, Kim A, has a really good Tour 9 tutorial set of all of the holes and all the shootouts, so if you want to check out some videos on it, I definitely would recommend checking her out on her channel, and I will put her channel link in my description. So anyways, as we were talking about the tours that this one's going to be played on, starting Thursday, it'll be available on Tour 4 and Tour 9. So this one will not be available on any of the higher level tours, so you all know what that means, right? When Tour 9 is the only place to play it. The sharks will be out, so y'all play and swim carefully in Tour 9 this coming week. Alright, all kidding aside, let's talk about the tournament a little bit here. You got your 4 levels of play. As you can see, each level is kind of divided up into 3 different areas. You have Expert 1, 2, and 3, Pro 1, 2, and 3. And as long as you are in one of those weekly leagues, then you can participate in that level of the tournament. So if you're in Pro 3, you can participate in Pro. You can also participate in Rookie, although you won't play other rookies. You will be bracketed with other people playing Rookie that are in Pro 1, 2, or 3. So, and that goes the same with all of the other levels. You have to be at least Expert level in the weekly league to play Expert, and so on and so forth. This is what you can win prize-wise in the tournament. Rookie, Pro, Expert, and Masters. What you see on the screen is the first place prizes for each of the divisions, and then it does scale down from there. As long as you make the weekend round, you win a prize. Now, the way that the rounds work, qualifying starts on Monday, and there's 3 days of qualification, so that means you can technically try to qualify 3 different times. If you're unable to qualify in those 3 times, then you do not have a chance to move on. But if you qualify any of those times and you're done qualification and you wait for the opening round, which starts on Thursday. Now the opening round will be 18 holes, and it'll take place over 2 days, so you have a total of 48 hours to get in your 18 holes, Thursday and Friday. If you finish in the top 50% of your bracket in opening round, you move into the weekend round, and then that takes place on Saturday and Sunday. Same thing, 18 holes, 48 hours to play. And then however you finish in your weekend round will determine your final placing in the tournament. Qualification rounds on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are only 9 holes each, and that's why you only get 1 day, to qualify each of those days. Do keep in mind each time you try to qualify, you do have to repay your entry fee, but once you qualify, you don't have to repay entry fee in your opening round or weekend round, but you do have to pay a base, fee per hole that you play. Now you can win Tour chests in these tournament games. So if you're playing Rookie, you can win Tour 3 chests, in Pro Tour 6, Expert Tour 9, Masters Tour 12. So kind of a little bit extra of an incentive to play a little bit higher maybe if you're looking for better clubs, and also a little bit of an incentive to actually play the shootouts. If you don't play the shootouts, then you don't have a chance to win the extra Tour chests. These are the rules for the different divisions, as you can see. Of course, Rookie plays from the front tee, Pro Expert play from the second tee, and Masters plays from the third tee. The wins will increase scale-wise as you move up divisions, as will the needle speed. It goes up to a 50% extra needle speed in the Masters division. The hidden spin is a rule that only is used in the expert and the masters, which means you can't see your opponent's spin when they change their top and their side spin, and then you can't see their ball guide. So those do not affect the pro and the rookie. You can see your opponent's adjustments in those two divisions. So here's the course, Acacia Reserve. And like I said, we've only had it one time so far, and that was last year's summer major, but it has been on Tour 9, but it will also be on Tour 4 starting on Thursday. So if you want to practice, get your practice on in Tours 4 and Tours 9. And I'm going to go through these holes one by one here in just a second. I'm going to talk about the different ways you can play them, just brief kind of synopsis of each one of them, along with some of the elevations as well for the shots. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so let's get started here talking about the different holes. We start out with hole number 1, and we got a par 4. Now you can play this one two different ways. The most common way you're going to see this hole played is to the right side, where you're bouncing your tee shot in this area and trying to go up this right fairway. Plus 10% is your drive elevation. You're trying to get your shot up into that little area of the fairway to the right, and then from there you'll play your second shot towards the green with a long iron, possibly a short iron depending on your position in the fairway and also the wind angle. But you're going to play that shot moving towards the hole at somewhere around plus 10%. So plus 10% for that second shot. Now, there was an option in the summer major last year where we played a rough bump option. For that shot, you need to play with, I would say, like a quarterback or something with backspin, maybe even a rocket. You want to get your shot somewhere in this zone right here, and then that's going to give you your shot with your sniper to go for the rough bump right there off that patch of rough. For the drive, you're playing most likely like a 1-to-1 adjustment because you'll be playing a very high accuracy driver, but you want to make sure you get yourself in that area where you can play the rough bump with the sniper. Now for the second shot, that second shot sniper is going to play somewhere between -5, -10%. I put both of those numbers up because I have seen both those numbers dropped. So, it's one of those shots that you have to kind of play around with. And it might depend on where you're playing the shot at, depending on what of those numbers you play. Last year it was played with -5%, but recently I've seen some people dropping it with -10%. So it's just something to kind of get out there and mess around with. If the rough bump is what you want to try to play with, otherwise you'll stick to the plus 10 and then the plus 10 from the right side. All right, we'll move on to hole number 2 now, and this is a very interesting and fun par 5. You play off the tee box at plus 10% is what I've always played. Now this is only if you're playing the bounce over shot to the second fairway here. If you're going to try to way overpower your shot, like a power curl shot where you land on the second fairway, then you want to play that at plus 20%. That's only if you're trying to play the overpower curl shot to that second fairway. So what you want to do is for your second shot, you'll be playing with a wood club, either a sniper or maybe even a big dog or a cat, depending on the wind that you have. If you have a tailwind, you can definitely get away with a sniper. But with any kind of a headwind, it may be a little bit safer and better for you to use a cataclysm or the big dog, just because we want to make sure we get the eagle here. The albatross is definitely a possibility here on this hole. And once we get to the tournament play and we have more of an specific wind angle that we know we can kind of work with, you can definitely dial that shot in. But as you're practicing, you kind of just want to have some base elevation percentages you play with. And I would suggest playing with a plus 20% base elevation for the second shot. Now your goal is either to bring the shot around there with the ball guide, You can play a bounce shot where you bounce here onto that fairway and then towards the green, or you could try to go straight over this bunker with a bounce into the hole. When I'm playing this hole in tour play, generally I'm really just trying to set myself up for a short chip around the green or the putt. If you get too overly aggressive with this second shot, that bunker really does come into play. And if you go into that bunker, it's a tough third shot to the hole to try to save that eagle. So, this is a hole that when I usually see it, I'm generally playing it for the shootout. I'm trying to get through it, not make a mistake, and get to the shootout. So those are a few different options on this hole and how to play those shots. If you are able, to get a really strong tailwind in the tournament, and you can play this shot to the second fairway here, you would bounce up this fairway trying to get here. In that case, you'll be playing a long iron shot, pretty much directly to the hole with a lot of backspin. And then I would definitely, check around and find out what elevation is going to be used for that shot, because I believe it will change depending on what kind of wind angle we do have. So, yeah, just something to think about moving forward. But if you do have a chance to play that shot in tour play, you want to play that drive at plus 20% for the overpower shot to the next fairway. Hole number 3 is our first par 3. So I play this shot from right about there, and I play plus 10%. Now I know some people play plus 20%, so I'm going to put plus 20% up here as well, because that is also, a way that people play this hole. So I think it's only fair that I do also say plus 20% is used here as well. Whether they're playing the shot from a different, bounce location on the fairway, or maybe they're just playing different spin locations, plus 10 has always gotten me really close to the hole on shootouts here. Tailwind or side-ish tailwinds. Now, if I get a headwind, I usually play a min driver with like 6 backspin and right spin here, max right spin, and then a little bit of curl to bring that shot in and then down that slope. This is a very tricky hole because you don't want to come into this green with too much speed. You want to really just have just enough speed to get to that green and then let your shot funnel down to the hole that way. But this is definitely a very fun hole, and I think it's one that if you play it just right or figure out how to get it within like 1.5 or so yards, you can win it a really large majority of the time. So as I said, plus 10 is how I play it, but others do play it at plus 20, so be careful with when you're playing this hole. And like I said, I think it really comes down to your spin adjustments, and I believe you can get each of those numbers to work to your advantage on this hole. Hole number 4. Now this hole here, you can play it two different ways. You can play it to the left, or you can play it to the right. I prefer playing it to the right, where I bounce it off of this this right kind of hill area right here. Plus 10% is what I use for the drive, using top spin, and then I'm using side spin to just straighten my ball out, trying to go down the middle of this fairway. Now, the farther up the fairway, the better position you get in. If you get farther up, like towards the front edge of that fairway, then you'll be in wedge distance. More than likely, most of the time, you're going to be more towards the middle, distance-wise, and you'll be using a short iron shot. Now, for your second shot, I would suggest playing plus 10%, and then whatever slider adjustment number you are in. So you want to find if you're in min, mid, or max, and playing that shot kind of right off the front edge of that fringe towards the hole. I really like the thorn, but the hornet works as well on this hole. I would assume the falcon would work as well if you had that one leveled up, a good bit as well. So spin to the hole, plus 10%, and make the shot. Now, if you want to play it to the left-hand side, that is an option. I would play the drive at plus 10%, just like going to the right-hand side. But you're going over this fairway, trying to get up into here, maybe a little bit farther up, but then your second shot to the green is going to be like a thorn or something like that with some backspin. And I would play that one at plus 0. So just play 0% on that second shot from the left. All right, hole 5. This one right here, I like plus 10%. on the shot, and you can play a bounce over shot here, or you can play a rough bump shot here. So either of those techniques will work. If you have a headwind, then you have to play your shot, bouncing it more than likely up here with backspin. With the sniper is the club of choice that I use for any of those types of shots. But plus 10% is the elevation I use. If you're playing the rough bump, it's generally a mid 10%. So I usually just play 1-to-1 on that adjustment. If I'm playing the bounce over shot from back here though, then I'm kind of eyeballing up a little bit more. And it's usually somewhere around like 25% club. But I would definitely recommend eyeballing it depending on what part of that spot you want to bounce. You could technically play a headwind shot as a bounce over as well, but I do believe it's tougher to play the bounce over shot with the headwind just because, there are a lot of different things that go into play on this hole as far as going towards that green with the slope up to the green. And I just feel like carrying the shot in the air over the rough to this next area of a fairway is the better play in a headwind. But if you get in tour play, just remember, play it at 10% for your elevation, and then you can experiment with the different ways that you play this hole off the bounce. Hole number 6, this one right here will play plus 20% off the tee box. And, if you get a good tailwind, you can try to fly over all of that mess and go up the fairway. If you get a side wind or a headwind, then you're going to play kind of straight forward. And you'll be bouncing over here and then up that left fairway with a lot of topspin. Best case scenario is you can play a shot to the right and get up in here, and then you're going to have a sniper shot to the hole. If you play it to the left, you're going to have a shot towards the hole, but it's going to be a little bit more of a tougher shot. You may need to use left spin and some left curl to get the shot towards the hole. For the second shot on this hole, I'd play plus 10%. Okay, so plus 20 on the drive and then plus 10% on the second shot. All right, hole number 7. This one right here is a hole that gets a whole lot of people, I would say. I would definitely recommend checking out Kimmy's video on this hole in her Tour 9 section. She has an updated video showing how she plays the shot to the right side, and it is spot on. So I would definitely make sure when you get a chance to, like I said earlier in the video, go to her channel, check out her cool information on Tour 9. I think it would really help you all out prepare for this tournament mentally. We've talked about it in the past. Tour play and tournament play is a lot different because once we get to tournament play, we do know the wind, we do know the angle that we're going to play at, so we can specifically cater our shot and dial it into that specific wind. In tour play, you got to be able to kind of think a little bit more on your feet and change your shot depending on what kind of wind angle and wind speed you get. So kind of just knowing a general way to play these holes, no matter what the wind angle, will really help propel you tour play-wise in your game. And that's why I always say, it's good to check out some other good information. And Kimmy has a really good source of information on her channel for this particular course for sure. All right, so if you're going to play it to the right-hand side, plus 40% is going to be your play at mid-distance club, which is like Kimmy says. Your bounce is going to be somewhere in here, and you're going to be using left spin and top spin to bounce it, close to the fringe and then towards the hole. And then you will be using curl with the shot depending on the type of wind angle that you have. Of course, if you have a strong right to left wind, you're not going to be using as much left curl. You use like a half a ball of curl. But if you have a left to right angled wind, then you use a little bit more curl, so you go a little bit more over a half a ball of curl. You can also play this shot to the right side as well, the left side as well, which, is a way that I generally play this hole, but it's very sketchy. I have some success. I sometimes flop and fail, but it's definitely an option. If you're going to play it to the left-hand side, I'd play plus 50%. And you're going to be somewhere between mid and 60% on your club. I would definitely eyeball that a little bit. And then spin-wise, you really have to kind of change your spin because you want the shot to come in and land right about mid-fairway right there and go to the hole. I definitely would recommend playing a little bit offset as well on the shot, and make sure, if you're coming into a headwind, that you are, not taking away too much topspin, because that headwind will really cut into that shot, because we are playing at such a high elevation on the shot. So two really solid ways to play this hole, to the left and to the right. I think I would more lean to the right, and definitely check out Kim's video. All right, next hole is hole number 8. So this one right here, I want to think that they're going to give us a wind to tease us, to try to get to the green. Normally you can get to the green if you're playing the lower level tours with higher level clubs and ball. You can usually land it here and go towards the hole. Generally though, like if you're playing with a decent wind but not one that you can just send it, you will be bouncing your shot somewhere in here and then bouncing up the fairway this way, trying to get to that zone, which I think will in general be the way that we see this hole get played, specifically in tour play. In tour play, that generally I'm not going to give you really, suitable winds just to send it to the green. So playing it this way, we'll play plus 10% off the tee box. And then for the second shot, I would suggest playing it at probably somewhere around 0 to minus 5%. And, I would definitely eyeball your location on the fairway. It is kind of a hilly fairway. Some areas are higher than others. So if you feel like you're on level with the green, play 0. If you feel like you're a little bit lower than the level of the green, then play minus 5%. But this is definitely a droppable hole. A lot of times your second shot in tour play is going to be a short iron, a thorn or hornet to the hole. If you want to play this one to the left-hand side, that's also an option. I would play a plus 10%. You're trying to get your shot, as deep up this fairway as possible, somewhere right into there. And then your second shot is going to be plus 10% to the green. You can either go straight to the green with backspin, or you can try to play this little rough bump right there, which is definitely another little cute option, especially if you have a good side wind that will adjust you up and down that little area of the rough. Then you don't have to really worry about overshooting the shot. If you miss perfect, you're just going to hit the rough and then roll onto the green. But plus 10% is the way I'd play that second shot. All right, last and final hole, hole number 9. This one right here. Generally, you're either going to be able to fly that rough section, or you're going to have to bounce it over. You want to get as far up the fairway because that gives you a better shot for your second shot. But sometimes that's just, not feasible if you get a headwind. So for this shot here, I'd play plus 10% on the drive. And then for the second shot, I'd play somewhere around 0 to minus 5% for the second shot, hopefully with a sniper. But if you don't feel like you have the distance in your sniper, then definitely don't be afraid to pack your big dog or your cataclysm as well on that shot. So 0% to minus 5%, I would definitely eyeball your location once again on that fairway for that second shot. Now, if you get a headwind and you don't feel like you can go to the left-hand side, you can play it to the right-hand side. You will be playing it with topspin. Definitely judge the amount of topspin that you use, because you don't want to use too much and roll through, but you do want to use enough to get up this right fairway. You have the option to play through that gap, which I think is going to be your best option. If you're going to play it to the right, I think if you play it to the right, you're setting yourself up kind of far away. And if you play it there, you're really, I think, putting yourself in a situation just to lay your shot up here for a wedge, which is definitely still a possible thing to do. I would play a wedge shot at a minus 10% uphill. But, hopefully you're not in a situation where you have to settle for that far right and wedge shot. But you never know. It's always there, and you have it in your mind if you need to use it. If you're going to play, though, through the gap to the right, sniper shot here, you want to judge your topspin to bounce, and then bounce just over that rough and towards the hole. Don't over topspin, because you go through too far into the rough behind the green. So I think, I would play that second shot at about plus 10% here for that second shot. So that is the course. I will look into doing a refresh as well for the rookie, for sure. And I see what kind of videos I have to do a refresh for any higher level divisions. But thank you very much for being here for this this tournament info video. Hopefully you all now feel a little bit more prepared to dive into Tour 9 with the Sharks this week. And if you don't want to, then you can go be a Shark in Tour 4. But just remember, if you lose your trophies in Tour 4, it's much harder to gain them back when you have higher level trophy counts, because a lot of times you can't find live players if you have a higher level trophy count in those lower tours. So then you're up against playing replays, which generally have really high levels of success putting the ball really close to the hole on a shootout. So just keep that in mind. You want to be a Shark and risk that, or you can play in Tour 9 with the other Sharks. All right, y'all. Have a good day. God bless.